If you are heading down the North Kaibab Trail from the trailhead to this spot, you haven't gone far, about 1/10 of a mile, and only down about 100 feet. The trail is wide and well worn by many hikers, most of whom, at this point on the trail, are day hikers that don't venture very far. And here is where they get their first glimpse of the canyon, which has been hidden by the forest until now. A small opening through the trees reveals just a bit. On this morning, Humphreys Peak, about 70 miles distant, stands out on the horizon. The somewhat darker, hazy blue area below Humphreys Peak is the South Rim, on the far side of the river, about 15 miles away. Nearer to us, about 5 miles away and halfway to the Colorado, is Como Point. The bands of color on the point give us our first view of the many rock formations we will pass through as we descend down the North Kaibab Trail. The distinct yellowish tan band is the Coconino Sandstone, and the reddish swatch is the Supai Formation. But that's all, other than the trees, that we see for now. The rock formation under our feet, buried by the soil, is the Kaibab Limestone, the rock layer at the top of the canyon. In most places in the canyon, at this level, near the base of the Kaibab Limestone, there would be some cliffs that would open up our view, but not here. Here's a geological map of the immediate vicinity. The North Kaibab Trail is the squiggly orange line, and our location is marked by the orange dot. The different colors denote different rock formations. The lightest blue at the top and along the left is the Kaibab Limestone. The somewhat darker blue next to it is the Toroweap Formation. The narrow tan band next to the Toroweap is the Coconino Sandstone, with the remaining bands of color marking lower and older formations as you move down and to the right, deeper into Roaring Springs Canyon. Notice the two parallel thick black lines cutting across the map from upper left to lower right. The lines mark a fault, or actually two of them, which together form the Roaring Springs Fault. Faults destroy cliffs, and here in this spot, the Roaring Springs Fault has obliterated the Kaibab Limestone cliffs down to a steady, not too steep slope, which the North Kaibab Trail follows for a relatively easy descent into the canyon. We will, in fact, be pretty much following the path of the Roaring Springs Fault for the first 4.5 miles of the North Kaibab Trail, taking advantage of breaks in the cliffs that it has created in several locations. Our elevation right here is 8,200 feet, right at the boundary between the transition and Canadian life zones discussed in the trailhead panorama. The aspens are still here, but are getting smaller, but the ponderosa trees, the dominant tree of the transition life zone we are moving down into, are getting bigger. Heading up the North Kaibab Trail from here, it's just an easy walk up that 1/10 of a mile, up a steady but reasonable grade to the trailhead, but we'll go to a spot just beyond it, to a fine panoramic spot with just a bit of a view of the canyon, but a fine location to examine the forest of the Canadian life zone. Heading down the trail, we'll continue our steady descent through the forest for just less than half a mile to the panorama spot where our view of the canyon first begins to open up.